Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Saturday morning D&D show. My name is Jordan with a silent PH in the middle, and I'm joined always by my wonderful co-host, Sir Lucian, over at Sir Lucian Gaming. Say hello on this spooky end of the October show that we have going on.
Hello, all you people. I hope you're wearing your costumes for today. You came to listen in your cosplay, or at least practicing for Halloween. So hope you guys got some good stuff.
I'm wearing my skeleton costume, but I've got my meat body over it.
Right.
So it's hard to see, but that's what that's what I have for Halloween right now.
Yep. I'm in my famous Twitch streamer costume, but it's ironic because it's not. But I did see LB Hackemup was asking, "Hey, when are you guys doing your Halloween special show?" And I thought,
it's got to be today
and next week. And all of them are Halloween specials. I don't know.
But though we were talking that we weren't really we didn't have plans for Thursday, October 31st.
That's true.
And so maybe we should do a special Saturday morning D&D show at night episode, and we'll just like talk about horror themed campaigns or something. I don't know.
That could be interesting.
That could be fun. We could stream on Halloween night and just chat.
Yeah.
Or I don't know. There's lots of stuff we could do.
We could do a late night Saturday morning D&D show just to confuse everybody.
Exactly.
It's like the late show.
And Gray Johnson, he's going as Lucian for Halloween this year. So that is an honor. And
really, what do you need? A t-shirt, a terrible haircut,
set of headphones.
Got it.
You're good.
Headphones.
We talk about Dungeons and Dragons and RPGs and all the fun things that we like to play in the tabletop role-playing game scene. What's going on in the news, Mr. Lucian?
Well, I felt like it was a little bit slower this week, and I think that's mostly because we've had UA articles week after week after week. It almost seems like we have most of our books are out. Tyranny of Dragons is on the store shelves, so you can go and check it out. I did notice it was on Roll20 also, so I'm sure some of the virtual tabletops may have either repackaged it or went through and made that book available in their virtual tabletop. So if you want to run that, I'm very keen on maybe going back and running that original adventure because it just feels like a good nostalgia. So,
did you run them or read them before?
No, I had not.
Okay. No. So it's interesting. There's a couple things about this, and I watched a couple reviews on the Tyranny of Dragons. I haven't bought the re-release, but I've read through Hoard of the Dragon Queen and Rise of Tiamat, and I did videos on them to be like, is this adventure worth playing? And I'm excited because the errata is really nice. And I didn't realize this until I watched a couple reviews, but the original books were made so close to the D&D Next playtest that they had D&D Next playtest like things in them, references to the playtest, to rules that didn't make it into the final build of Dungeons & Dragons 5e. So having that fixed is really cool, but overall, like, I don't think they changed much is what the reviews I was reading. And so it was kind of like, not a letdown because it is a re-release. And so I shouldn't be upset, but I was expecting, I guess when they said they've revised the first couple chapters or something, there was something that they were promoting like, hey, we've done all of this.
Yeah. I thought they rewrote the first chapter completely.
And that's not what I saw on the reviews that I did. The reviews that I saw, sorry, not that I didn't do any reviews, that it was mostly their rewriting was how they kind of mashed the two adventures together to make one flowing adventure. So I don't know I think if you don't have the adventures and you're curious about them, this is definitely well worth your money because it's updated and stuff. But I think if you already own the other two, there's really no reason to get this one. But I don't know. That's my opinion. And I was really excited for it, but then when I found out that they didn't actually put as much revising effort into it as I thought they did, I was less keen on it. But that's me.
I think my interest comes from definitely the cover art, because I'm a sucker for really good cover art. I love the actual idea of the adventure. We're playing Dungeons and Dragons, and it's an adventure about dragons. And so I think that was what drew me. And I never bought it originally. So like you, if you've already bought it, you may not feel like you need to have it. But I never ran it as a dungeon master either. Back when it first came out, I wasn't a dungeon master during the D&D Next. And I haven't had all this practice and all these different games that I've ran to give me all these skills that I feel like I've really begin to polish and continue to try to improve. I'd love to go back to that original adventure and really bring those skills to it, and just see, can I make this a fun, engaging adventure for my players? Because even some of my players had said, oh, I think I remember sort of playing that a little bit a long time ago, but I don't remember it being very fun or whatever. So I wonder, I guess it was almost like a challenge to Lucian, was like, all right, I'll take you think this module is not fun, and I'll make it fun, or I'm going to drive that fun down your throat, or whatever. So it was just like a clarion call of challenge to me to say, let's go back to this old stuff, which is old. We say 5 years ago, old stuff, and see if it's how good it is. So,
okay.
I don't know. I'm definitely going to take a look at it. It's fitting it in the schedule, which is always mine and your problem, is that we have 7 million ideas and we have 1 day to do any of them. So
I got approached yesterday to be like, hey, are we going to start another game? And I was like, guys, I'm at 3 games a week.
Yeah.
And I have to spend time with my family because I love them. So it was one of those things where I'm like, I think that's, like the occasional one shot, I can fit that in. But if you're talking about a 4th campaign, I was like, I don't think I could do that.
Yeah. Well, we could start the Dungeons and Dragons experiment where you have your child sitting with you as you dungeon master its entire life. So from the moment of, just every single day of its life, it sat on your lap during dungeon mastering, just to see if that child becomes a super child, or maybe it becomes a lich, or maybe, it develops some magical powers in some way.
You can say, what does the cow say? And the baby's like, I don't know what the cow says. But if you say, like, what does the goblin say? They know exactly how to speak goblin.
Yeah.
Very articulate. Yeah.
I think that would work.
Yeah.
So other than that, I thought the big news it was like on Friday of last week, I believe it was, Matt Colville launches Kingdoms in Warfare on his Kickstarter. Last I checked, it was about 800,000. They might have broke 1 million by today. I didn't check it this morning. I probably should have. I was a huge fan of the original Strongholds and Followers, which is behind me, and I've been using it in my campaign. And we're about to get the second book for that, which is Kingdoms in Warfare, which is going to add a lot of stuff. And a new thing that he had mentioned that I thought was interesting that's going to be in this book was the idea of how to run a campaign where your players are all the same class, which is an idea I've had in the past. Me and you have joked about maybe an all cleric campaign at one point to play around with the idea.
Would be really fun.
All bard, there you go. Yeah. They're a band, a traveling band.
Exactly.
So something like that.
Works.
So I'm curious to see how even traveling monks. You could be the 5 monks and you would have a crazy fun kung fu movie, old style kung fu movie, or you could have an anime based on that because they're all the same kind of thing. So there's a lot of cool possibilities there, and I'm wondering what he's going to bring to the table on that. I'm a big fan of Matt Colville's. I know it's not for everybody. Not everybody loves that stuff, but I enjoy supplement stuff that's not released by Wizards of the Coast. I'm a big fan of it. So what about you? Are you thinking about Kingdoms in Warfare?
Oh yeah, I backed it. I'm really excited for it. I don't have the financial resources to back and get all the minis. Yeah. But man, those minis are cool. Like he outdid himself. Like the Gem Dragons were cool last time, but now he knows what he's doing, and they have the right distributors and manufacturers and stuff, and they know how to like go about this mini process, and like they're just so cool. And I don't know, one of my players is seriously considering backing at like the multiple $100 level so he can get all the minis, and I was like, that's real cool. Like they're super fun. But I did get the book. I'm really excited. I was a little disappointed that he said that it's going to be finished by like 2021. So it's going to take like 1.5 years to get. But then in one of his videos, he was just like, we said 2021 because that's how long it took for the last book. So that we know that it at least will take that long, but they're hoping to have it earlier. So I'm like, oh, we'll probably, like, most likely he knows what he's doing now with Kickstarters. I think we'll get it in a year. So I think it'll be next October, November. We'll see it. Hopefully that's my hope, because and we always get the PDF early, which is really cool. And then the printed book took a little longer and things like that. So
you said they weren't printing from China this year, this time around. They the problems they had with trying to make sure that they could ship to all countries, which you just can't. Not everybody has the capacity to be able to ship to every single country. So there's always some people out there that hear about these cool Kickstarters or stuff or contests or new products, and they're kind of sad because they can't get them to their, because of whatever their postal service is or their customs service is, doesn't let that stuff come in. But they've done a really good job of making it at least branch out to as many possible countries out there. They've got that nailed down. His whole team, Anna and Lars, they all have that really good team. And if you haven't been watching over there, they've been doing some streams of playing Dune, the board game. Yeah. And the production quality of that is like Critical Role quality of what they're running. They've got really good overlays. They've got changing backgrounds to show what turn the board game is on. They've got cameras set. They've got their sound set up. They're funny and they're engaging people to watch play a game. They've really got it dialed in right now. So he's taken that money that they've gotten from the last Kickstarter, because if you remember, the last Kickstarter was not only the book, but it was also for the live campaign show. So they were doing those two things. This time it's the book, the minis. I don't think he's added anything else onto that. So it's just book and minis, and we'll get that out. So I think that'd be really cool.
And they'll continue streaming, I'm pretty sure. So
I'm sure of it.
Because
he's actually streaming even more and more and more, it seems like. So if you want to catch out that kind of stuff, it's pretty good. So,
I love his little Matt chats that he has where he's just like, let's just talk. And I'm like, God, you're so engaging, you charismatic fool. I can't believe you. Anyway.
Dare you. So other than that, what do we have looking forward? We're not too far off. What are we, maybe 3 weeks off, maybe a total of 4 weeks, depending on how the calendar sits, that we get Eberron rising from the last war. And are we going to be rising from that last war? Who knows? And also on that day, we will see the box set for Dungeons & Dragons vs. Rick and Morty. And I think that'll be about the last Wizards of the Coast release for this year. And maybe end of this month, maybe getting into mid-November, we might start to get the hints of what we might see next year. I'm assuming they're going to start dropping some news on us about what to look forward to in 2020 to get it, because they always want to keep us on the edge of excitement of, there's this next big thing coming. Yeah. Just keep going. So I think that was about all I saw for news. I did notice one on here that is like, I jumped over the moon when I saw it, but I'll let you talk about it because you put it in the notes here. So I think it's a really cool one.
So this is older. This came out a couple weeks ago, and I don't know why I didn't put it in the news earlier, but I was surfing websites this morning, and I'm like, oh yeah, we should totally talk about this. Modifius, which is a company that makes tabletop. No, I shouldn't say. I don't know what they actually make, but they are releasing a Homeworld tabletop RPG in conjunction with Homeworld 3 coming out. So the Homeworld series of games are tactical RPGs in space. You control a mothership and a bunch of like little ships, and they fly around in 3 dimensions. And it's kind of like any real-time strategy game like StarCraft or Command and Conquer and stuff, and you have an opposing force in your map and you're trying to take them out. They're really cool games. Like Homeworld 1 and 2, just choice, wonderful games. I love them so much. And the lore behind those games is really cool. So the fact that they're making a tabletop RPG, I don't know exactly how it's going to partake. They have a couple of playtest stuff out there. I think if you click here, I'll put the link in chat and you guys can read about it. But it seems really cool, and I'm really excited for just a fun space opera tabletop RPG in a world that I'm familiar with, that I really like. It's really cool. So yeah, that's coming out.
And it's by a great company. Modifius produced Tales from the Loop was one of the first
Okay.
things that put it on my radar, but Star Trek the Adventures, Star Trek Adventures, which we did a play test on my channel that received a lot of pretty good reviews, and a lot of people went and looked at it to learn how to play, which is really cool, well put together game. They do that 2D20 system, but also John Carter Mars is one that I'm thinking of that they're doing. They've got some Cthulhu-esque games, Achtung Cthulhu, I believe it is, or Cthulhu Achtung, like that. They're doing a lot of
Conan, apparently,
RPGs. Conan, yeah. Conan, a lot of RPGs that are based on IPs that maybe you would like and enjoy, but hasn't really had the role-playing treatment yet. So they're a UK-based company. Really cool, really good stuff that they put out. They just, every book I look through is beautiful. I love the simplicity of the rules. They have a lot of licenses that I just love and adore, because they go out and they grab some weird stuff like Homeworld. You wouldn't think. Oh yeah. And I love Homeworld. Don't get me started. I just bought Remastered and played all through Homeworld 1 and 2 when they put all the new graphics in, and the campaigns are fantastic. I also played a ton of Desert of Karak, which I've even got videos on my channel for that game because I loved it so much. That is such a wonderful world, of wonderful visual game, that to be able to put that into a role-playing game, I can't wait to see how that works. Like, what part of the storyline are we in? Are they going to give us the ability to play in different parts of the timeline? Are you just a crew of a ship? Are you going to dive into something else? Are you going to be hunting the artifacts? Are you going to be looking for lost technology? Are you going to be fighting wars of faction wars? What's going to happen with that? So,
I love the idea of the rules. Like, are we going to have tradition? Is it going to be traditional, like I'm a grunt and I'm a soldier on a ship, or are they going to have ship rules, which I'm assuming they are, because you're going to be jumping through space and hyper jumping through space and stuff. And so I don't know. I'm really excited for mechanically how it's going to work as well, because I like different mechanics and I like how people interpret them. And I don't know. And the lore of that game is just so cool. It's going to be, yeah. I can't believe I forgot to talk about it, because I was like stoked about it when I saw it a couple weeks ago, and I just never put it in the notes until this morning when I was like, oh yeah, we should talk about that.
Yeah. So. Modifius keep an eye on the Modifius if you're not signed up for like their newsletter, or you follow them on Twitter, because the types of things they bring to role playing right now, and they're even doing some board game release stuff. They're doing they just have a lot to offer. I'm starting to put them on par with like Wizards of the Coast being the biggest company you can think of in role playing. Then you probably have got name wise, maybe Monty Cook Games is definitely up there. Modifius should start to be up there, and then who's doing Pathfinder, which is slipping my mind at the moment. Paizo. So those are the big heavy hitters of the role playing, and then you've got all the great indies. Not saying that you should only go after these big corporate versions of these games, but they are putting out high quality, cool. Nobody's putting out low quality books these days. It seems everybody's getting great artists. Everybody's getting lots of fun and interesting design rules and lots of cool layouts and lots of
I think
cool
it's a
artwork.
combination of Kickstarter and the internet allowing people to connect, because before it was like, all right, let's search, I don't know, the greater Seattle area and look for artists. Here are the 10 that I found that can do it for the price that I want, kind of a thing. And nowadays it's like you just put out an SOS on the internet and you get like so many creative people that are willing to come together and build a project like that. And so people are just coming up with really cool stuff. And it was something, this is unrelated, but like I think with all of these quality books coming out, people read these and they know that they have a standard to live up to almost. And it reminds me of juggling. I know that's silly, but like I remember an interview with Penn Jillette from Penn and Teller, and he was saying that he's like, when he was a kid, he's like, I could juggle. And that was really cool. And he's like, now that I'm an adult, these kids go to YouTube and they see that somebody's juggling like 8 bowling pins. And it's like, oh, and to the kid, they're just looking at that going, oh, it's possible. And so they try until it's finally done. And I think it's kind of the same thing where you look at these quality games and you're just like, that's possible. I want to build something better and cooler. And so they have like a standard to live up to. And it's just, I don't know, it's really cool. Like there's lots of indie games that I've been picking up lately that are really, like I just got Tiny D6, Tiny Dungeon with the Tiny D6 engine. I think you were talking about Tiny Supers. It's kind of the same mechanic. Really cool game, really cool, like easy dice rolling mechanics. And it kind of inspired me to make a system myself. And so I was like, I want to make a game. And you start fiddling around with all of these different mechanics and stuff. So yeah.
So definitely go out and check them out. Definitely go and keep an eye on them. I will definitely be buying that book, just like I bought Aliens. I'm still waiting for that one to come in. I've still got a bunch of Kickstarters that are going to eventually be coming in. Like you just mentioned, Tiny Supers finally came in. But I still got a few out there that I think are going to be really good books. And there's always new Kickstarters. I mean, we talked about Grant's Kickstarter Grimmer World before. I backed the one from Sean Austin. I think that's how it's pronounced, his name, from, we all know him from Goonies, but we also know him from Stranger Things. He was doing a Kickstarter for his RPG game, which was kind of a futuristic RPG game, which was really cool. So I backed that. So it's just like, you can find OSR stuff. You can find new games. You can find big studio games, small independent games, all kinds of cool dice mechanic games. And it's just like, I think we should dub this, like we have the OSR, which is old school Renaissance, right? I think we're in the new Renaissance. We're living in a tabletop Renaissance right now of games, because there's so many to choose from. You can play everything. You can play Westerns to World War II pilots to, adventurers to detectives, just everything. I mean, Critical Role is doing their Deadwood series these last couple of weeks, which has been really good. I mean, they have the guy that plays the king on Walking Dead role playing with them. I'm just like, oh my God, this is the greatest thing ever. So we're in a great time for all of us gamers and role players, and enjoy it, people. I don't know how long it's going to go. Maybe we got another couple of years. Maybe we got 10 more years. Maybe the crash is about to happen in a month. Who knows? So enjoy it now.
I don't think it'll crash. I think the community's too strong. People love it. So
yeah. So I think that's about it for news. We didn't have a ton. We're going to keep our eyes out. We're starting to get into that holiday season for most of us. And I think that's when we kind of, role-playing games sometimes take a little backseat during these times when people are traveling to go see family, or they're taking some, midwinter holidays, or if you're in a different part of a country, maybe this is your, I'm sure most countries have holidays around these kinds of same times, whether it's for the same things or not. But it's, there's always these weeks or 2 weeks off where you go and you visit family. So how about you? Are you thinking ahead? How bad is your schedule going to get for that end of November, beginning into December? You got a lot of family stuff you're doing, babies coming.
The baby is, and so with the child arriving, November and December are just going to be, Christmas, family in town. Like, I don't even, I got to start making videos ahead of time so that I have content for my YouTube channel. And it's going to be interesting. So, but yeah, I literally talked to a couple friends and I was like, yeah, I really want to play this game. I've got this like DCC game, or I've got this other game, and I want to do this with you. And they're like, well, when are you available? And I'm like, probably mid-January 2020. We can do something.
Yeah.
Cause like by then I'll have figured out how this, child rearing works, and I might be able to fit it. But I just think with all the family that want to come up for Christmas and see the new baby and stuff. But anyway,
have you decided if you're going to have a famous child? Or are you going to have them on the Saturday morning D&D show? Or we
don't know. What Shannon, my wife and I were talking about that, and we're not sure if we want I don't know, but I think
that's interesting.
I think he or she will make a brief appearance because people are interested. So
because the parents,
but I don't think I'm going to hold the baby while we do the show.
Yeah. I think it would get us views, man.
Oh,
I think we're on top with a little D&D onesie, and I think we're good to go. But the only reason I bring it up, because my impression is both of this child's parents are performers. They enjoy being able to be out in front of people. I wonder what kind of child you're going to get. You're going to get one that's very similar, or you can get like the introvert that's like, I don't want to do all that stuff just because you guys do it.
Yeah.
You know?
I don't know. We'll see.
That'd be interesting. So
I think right
cool.
at the beginning, they'll want to eat and sleep, and we can provide that. So
wait, do you know if it's a boy or a girl yet?
We don't. We decided to be surprised.
So there you go. D&D Saturday morning D&D show. We'll do gender reveal. It's gonna be great for the baby. I'm just kidding. So that's about it. So that's our news. If you guys saw anything that we might have missed, go ahead and put it in the comments or throw it up in chat. And we'll keep an eye on it. And then next week we'll see what we get for next week. I'm excited. We're in a good time for role-playing games.
Yeah.
So as far as our next little segment, I've tried to push and twist Jordan's arm to let me do, which is called we were calling it like bardic inspiration was an idea, but just inspiration, campaign inspiration. And the one I came up with this week, which obviously is right on point because I went and saw Zombieland, the second one.
Fun.
Double Tap, which I was a big Zombieland fan 10 years ago. It's crazy to think that it was 10 years ago. I love those actors as far as in those roles. They've some of those actors have went on to other roles that you may not have liked or you don't think they're great, but in those roles, I loved them. They were the perfect fit for that. And so it made me think of, here's an idea to throw out there to all you dungeon masters that are listening. If you wanted to play a campaign that was an undead campaign, how would you do it? And what rules would you need to adjust to do it? And would you just run a normal adventure, but everybody plays undead? Or how could you change the adventure to make it or the campaign to make it feel different than the other campaigns you run because the players are undead, which I think would be very interesting. So that was the idea I wanted to throw out there. What do you think, Jordan? If I said, hey, Jordan, we're starting, and this happens to be on a night that you have free, a campaign where all the players are undead, would you be interested?
I would ask you, is this something like, cause I've heard of games before where you play the goblins in your lair and these pesky adventurers keep coming in and trying to take all of your gold and stuff. And so your job as the players is to prevent these adventurers from getting away all of your loot and to stop them with traps and stuff. So I guess my question to you is, this undead campaign, is it kind of similar? Like, are we raised by a wizard and we have to go do that wizard's bidding and we're playing monster stats? Or are we playing regular Dungeons and Dragons player character stats, but we just have an undead twist on it where necrotic heals us and we can't go out in the daylight or something like that?
Right. Yeah. And that would be what I would have to figure out. Like, what type of campaign, like how would I run it so it was different? And I like your idea where there's lots of adventures or the things that you're trying to push back. Or maybe it's the idea that a necromancer who has raised the party or has created this party by whatever means, but in that process, something went wrong and you got free will, because normally you don't have that, but maybe you do. Or maybe you just suddenly gain awareness in some way. Like World of Warcraft, they have a big storyline about how their undead faction gained awareness and how they're different from the other undead, because you still might run into other types of undead. In Zombieland, one of the things they were talking about in the second movie, it's still a comedy, it's still pretty funny, but one of the story points, without trying to spoil anything, is that the idea that zombies might evolve. So the undead might evolve and how that might change how things are, because you always want to mix up. I think Matt Colville is always talking about that. You want drama, and to get drama, you need conflict, right? So there's got to be something there to really draw that campaign together. And then what would you let them play? Would you let the players play vampires or werewolves, or would they only get to play zombies and ghouls and ghasts? Would you let them be ghosts? There is a plethora of undead creatures to choose from to let your players play for it. And would you build them new classes, or would you make them undead as a race and then give them the normal class? I mean, there's so many things to think about. That's what I loved about this idea that I had over the week, is it just gets your mind just reeling about the possibilities.
I definitely like the idea of you work for a necromancer. Like, he summons you and he's just like, I'm a busy wizard in a tower. That's why I raised you from the undead. I need you to go over here and like run errands for me. And
Yeah.
so you're a party of adventurers, but you're undead and you're running back and forth. That could be a lot of fun, because he always has another job for you, and you level up, and then it could get to the point where you actually, attack
Overthrow
your
him or
master and
something?
overthrow him
Yeah.
to get your life back somehow, or something like that. That could be really fun. Or even you talk about werewolves. What if every time the party goes to sleep, they wake up in a different area? And they're just like,
Yeah.
what happened? And it's like, well, you turned into a hideous beast and just destroyed that village you helped last during the day. And it's like, what? And they don't know what's happening. But every time they wake up, they have to deal with the ramifications of turning into a werewolf that night,
Yeah.
Last
Yeah, that'd be
Halloween, I
great.
ran a Halloween game where if I told myself if one of my players died in the game, they would come back as a ghost. And that ended up happening. One of our players died, and so he was really bummed about it. And then I handed him the monster sheet because I photocopied the ghost sheet, and I handed it to him. And he's like, "Are you kidding me?" And he was so stoked to be a ghost. And so he was able to play a ghost for the rest of the campaign and had a blast with it. And so that was really fun. So.
Yeah, in our Storm King's Thunder campaign, one of our players, as part of their backstory, when they died, I gave them the idea. They failed all their death saves, they died, but the team was going to take the body and have it resurrected. So after that session was over, I went to that player and I said, okay, here's your chance. When they do the resurrection ceremony, you get to choose, do you want to come back or do you not? And that gives you this chance to build another character, and we work that character into the campaign, but you get to make this choice. He's like, thought about. And he's like, okay, no, I think I want to come back. I was like, okay, can I introduce this cool plot line where you come back, but there's been a problem? There's something's happened in the ceremony, and he develops or gets lycanthropy during it. So there's these scenes where he leaves at night. Nobody knows where he goes off to, comes back and he's covered in blood, or he's missing his clothes, it was a part in the campaign that nobody could ever quite figure out what was going on. And he enjoyed playing up that part of his backstory, even though it didn't really tie into anything else overall, but just adding those little pieces to it, like, oh, you've been bitten by this and you're starting to turn.
Yeah.
Or how does the party deal with this? How do you deal with it as a character, and what are the complications? Like, if you watch Preacher, I just started watching Preacher again, getting caught up on it, and in that, the preacher's friend is a vampire. So he goes around, he has to carry out an umbrella with him when he goes and helps. And he kind of seems to be a pretty good vampire. He doesn't seem to be overly bad. So he's just kind of that neutral kind of guy.
Yeah.
And that could be an interesting. Maybe your party has a vampire, but they're not the evil sort. So how does that whole thing happen?
Yeah. There's lots of homebrew stuff for being a vampire player character, but I'm really surprised that Wizards hasn't put out anything to be a vampire, because, well, specifically my wife wants to play a vampire in every game that she plays in. So
yeah. And my player's in chat that I just described his whole backstory. He's like, we need to start that campaign again.
Yeah.
Because he did really like that. That was a really good character that he was playing. So that was my idea. So did Jordan have a big bardic inspiration this week for GMs?
I like twists in games. And so I was thinking a lot about, and this is, So I bought a Kids on Bikes supplement that is basically just a bunch of plot hooks that you can use in your games to get your ideas going for a game. And one of them was like aliens kind of invade the town. And this corresponds to what I was going to talk about later, but like I did a live stream on the 18th of October and on my birthday on Thursday to hang out with people. And we had this idea of like, I want aliens in my game, but I also want it to be like horror Halloween kind of game. So we ended up using that theme of aliens and like Men in Black. And so we have these Men in Black that are trying to stop this alien, but it turns out to be weird alien monsters trying to stop this other thing. And so the big like switcheroo, I think, is going to be that they think that it's all magic and this is like witchcraft and stuff. And then the switcheroo at the end is like, oh, it was actually technology that you thought was magic. So long story short, that's kind of where I was going with my inspiration, I guess, was just how people interpret things differently and how you can explain things as a dungeon master to be like, I don't know, like you find this weird box, and it's got glowing lights all around it, and it turns out that it's a remote control or something. But like the way you can describe it is that it's this weird magical box that your characters don't understand. I recently ran Dungeon Crawl Classics, and it was called
That's what you made me just think of.
Yeah, it was called like Out of Time, and it was a very similar game where they were primitive, like medieval peasants that were exploring a inter-time dimensional shifter spaceship. And so they would find like that, and that was really fun because we basically spent 5 or 10 minutes going over what this magic box is that has a window on the front and these weird like knobs and stuff. And then they found out that it was a microwave. And so it was just really fun for stuff like that. So I don't know. I need to, I feel like I let you down every week, and I need to make an active choice or an active decision of thinking about the week and thinking about what inspires me as a DM. But yeah, that's what I got.
Yeah, I get
like
that
aliens.
feeling.
I want to like use them in a weird way.
Yeah, that cool twist you're talking about is something that those of you that are going to be running games like Numenera come into quite a bit, because the idea is that you're so far forward in time that it's almost back to fantasy and magic again.
Yeah.
But yet there's technology that has laid dormant for millennia that adventurers dig up. So when they dig it up, it acts like a cool magical thing, when the reality is there's a technological base behind it. But as a dungeon master or a game master, you're trying to find a way not to give the thing away. Like you said, the microwave's in front of you. You don't just want to say, hey, okay, so your barbarian sees, well, you know it's a microwave, but your barbarian wouldn't. You're trying to find a way to say, you see this weird metallic box in front of you that has glass on the front for some reason. Yeah. So you're trying to come up with a way not to give it away, but also to give them hints of what it might be. And so when they get that aha moment of like, are you describing a van? Is that what you're describing? You know, or what? It's a Scooby-Doo van?
So much fun for the players to have that aha moment where they like putting the puzzle pieces together and then looking at you and you're just like, oh my gosh, like it's a TV, and you're just like, yep, you got it. And so there's a weird box, and a small man is on the inside of the TV, and he's looking at you waving, and it's like you could be like, is it a prison? Is it all that? No, it's a TV. So it's just fun.
It's very cool.
I like it.
All right. Well, that was this week's GM or Dungeon Master inspiration, Bardic inspiration. We'll get a good name for that at some point. And the idea is to give those ideas and put them out there. So if you want to steal them and use them for your campaign, or you were just looking, just do it and tell us all about how you stole it, how you used it, how you already had come up with it. And really, we are not that original, because no idea is original at this point. Everything's being stolen from pop culture. So that usually leads us into, with that little tiny segment in the middle. One of these days I'm going to put like a screen swipe. I kept thinking about doing it this week, where I would do a whole little, put a little bumper in there that has a little snippet of music, and it does the whole thing, and then it switches back over. One of these days I'll do it when we get some
DM
production
inspiration. And then it'll switch back and
but that leads us to our final phase of our show, which is where we talk about our campaigns and what we did in role playing. And I think I did a bunch of talking there, so I'm going to let Jordan go, because it looks like he had a bunch of fun last week. So what did you do? Fill us in. Give us the good stuff.
So my Acquisitions Incorporated game, so this is an interesting thing, because I was talking to my dungeon master about it. We finished a lighthouse area. And there were a couple of like side quests that we could have gone on, but we decided to stick with the main storyline, and we ended up having to rest in this lighthouse. So multiple days passed as we were kind of climbing this lighthouse, because we would fight and then we would run out of spell slots and hit dice, and we literally had to rest or we were going to die. So we rested and things like that. So because we rested, we missed out on other things. By the time we finished this lighthouse and got back to Phandalin, multiple days had gone by, and they were like, you missed this, you missed the election, you missed all this other stuff that was happening in Phandalin that we wanted to get back in time for. And it made me think of like we're playing in real time, which I haven't done in a game before. Because usually if I want my players to experience something, I'm like, yeah, it took you 7 days to travel here, but you guys just made it in time for the election. Like, I would have done that. But our DM is very much like, no, according to the book and according to the rules that he's, playing by, we missed all of this, and there are ramifications for us missing content that kind of makes us feel bad that we're not like, there was kind of a feeling in the room where we're like, oh, so like, are we not good because we didn't get to all of these, extra things? So that was just, I don't know, something interesting. And but talking again with my dungeon master, I think he thinks, or he's made it clear, like, even though there are, we missed the election for the mayoral election in Phandalin, there are ramifications that we can still go from that. So there's branching pathways. So it's not over yet, but it just is interesting to me that there's a lot in this Acquisitions Incorporated adventure that you aren't necessarily going to see everything. And I don't see that a lot except in sandboxy kind of games. And this didn't feel like a sandboxy kind of game to me until now, when I was just like, oh, like if we want to spend 2 weeks of downtime in Phandalin, there are ramifications. There's other things happening all over in Waterdeep and in Luskan that we're missing out on because we decided to build up our franchise in Phandalin. So yeah, that's fun.
That happened a little bit in my Storm King's Thunder, because I had this idea as a dungeon master to say, I want to give them 4 options.
Yeah.
And the storyline can go in 4 directions. And I think that'd be really cool. But if they don't do the other 3, those things happen without them being there. And there will be, I don't want to say consequences, but the world will move on because they didn't tackle those things. But I found the same problem that you just described, where my party kind of got down about, they chose one and they felt bad. Like, well, then why'd you tell us about the other 3 if we couldn't go and do them and do anything about them? They were like, anything I give them, they felt like they had to go and do immediately. So if I would give them any other thread, they would like, oh, we got to go do that because that's what the dungeon master wants us to do. I actually had to sit them all down and talk to them about saying, no, guys, there's a big world out there. It's reacting to what's going on. You have options, but you can't choose them all. You have to make a choice, and you have to live with that. And I think they finally got it, but they never totally bought into, why do you keep giving us things we can't do? Or why do you keep telling us about things we can't do? So I definitely understand
there's that conflict. Yeah. And we ran into it where some people came ashore and they were just like, we were on next to this lighthouse and some people came ashore on a boat and they were just like, hey, we need help, creating a mutiny on our ship because our captain's gone crazy. And we were like, okay, we'll help you, but we really need to like explore this lighthouse, thinking it would take like a couple hours, but it ended up taking 2 days because we had to rest because we were getting our, butts kicked by ghosts and stuff like that. So by the time we finished and we left, we're just like, oh, where are they? And they're like, oh, that ship sailed, like literally it's gone. And we're like, oh, like, should we have helped them first? But then were we on we made a choice, and that conflict is what creates an evolving world, I guess. So,
yeah. So very cool.
Yeah. And then my Shadowfell game, having lots of fun with that when we get to play. It's really cool. They had to make speaking of choice, they came to a small village and they had to make a choice whether they want to go up and over the snowy mountains or underneath it in tunnels. So we have the Lord of the Rings. Do you want to go through the mountains or do you want to go underneath in the Mines of Moria kind of a thing? The party was split and it came down to there are 5 players. So 2 of them wanted to go under and 2 of them wanted to go over. The final player had the say in it. And she said, I want to go over. So they all agreed they're going to go over. They ended up fighting a giant, an ice giant that was hucking like spears of wind at them, which was really fun. And then we put them in a snowstorm with an ice elemental that did a bunch of crazy damage and things. And it was just fun to use monsters from Tome of Beasts. I like to use monsters from the Creature Codex or Tome of Beasts because they have really hard-hitting, interesting monsters that keep my players on their toes. We're doing a lot of like constitution checks to see how they handle the cold, which has been really fun. And they get levels of exhaustion or take hit dice damage, which is interesting to me. Trying to think of new mechanics that I can use for like if it's cold. And I decided on rather than like layering the exhaustion, which I could kill them pretty easy because it's kind of a downward spiral if they get 2 levels of exhaustion, because then all of a sudden their checks are disadvantaged and stuff. I've been taking away, I'm like, oh, you failed your constitution check, you lose 3 hit die, and then they have to roll that hit die and then they lose that many hit points as well. So
Ooh.
when they get into the little hiccup,
Okay, you're back.
little hiccup, I apologize.
Whew. Scared me. I see you. I hear you. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm screaming into the void.
I don't know where did I live off before? Because you just froze, and then I'm like, is it me? And I look over, and my connection was just 0.
Yeah. You were. I don't know. You have me flustered now because I was like thinking about what am I going to do? How do I switch over? Matt just punched the giant down the canyon. Says Shannon.
They were fighting this. That's my wife and my player. They were fighting this giant, and the giant could fly, and that was a fun thing that they didn't know about. So they ended up attacking this giant. He fell down in a canyon, and then the giant like flew up out of the canyon. Our player is a monk and used Stunning Strike and stunned the giant. And so then I was like, well, if the giant can't really fly if he's stunned, so then the giant just fell and splattered against the rocks below, and that's how they won that fight, which was really fun. It was I like doing things like that where they're creative, and he uses Stunning Strike a lot. I got to start using monsters that are immune to stun because like that's really powerful, and he can do it. He's level 11, so he's got 11 key points. It takes 1 key point to do Stunning Strike, and he can hit like 4 times. So he gets 4 chances to stun a creature.
Which means he's going to do it. You're not going to fail that many.
It's pretty good. So lots of fun with the Shadowfell Adventures. And then Ghosts of Saltmarsh was a fun session. My players went to discover what's happened to a lost crew, and they fought some Kuatoa, and that was fun. And then they came back to town. And I should say, 2 sessions ago, they got led into a cult of Shar, a church of Shar, the goddess Shar, evil goddess. They went into their basement summoning ritual area, and they asked all of the players to come forward and pledge their loyalty by cutting their hand and dripping blood into this magic circle. Only one of them did it, but as they did that, a shadow demon rose up, and we had a really fun encounter with these cultists of Shar and this shadow demon. They massacred everybody in here. This is a church in Saltmarsh. They massacred everybody because they were attacked, and then they left. And they didn't tell anybody about it. They didn't do anything else. So now they came back, and they want their reward for taking care of these Kuatoa. So they go back to Councilman Anders, who is running the show, and they've been working for this councilman for quite a while. And as they're entering to talk to him, 2 cultists of Shar are walking out. And so these 2 cultists walk out, and they see them, and they're just like, oh, evil cultists. Like, what do we do? And I'm like, well, there's a lot of guards around. They were clearly talking with Councilman Anders. Do you want to attack them, or do you want to let them go? And they're like, we'll let them go. They immediately walk in, and they're just like, why are you talking to these cultists of Shar? And he's like, well, they had somebody came in and just destroyed their temple, their church. Like, we don't know who it is, but it was a bloodbath, and people just bodies everywhere. And they all take a step back, and they're like, oh, that was us. And Councilman Anders is like, and so he's panicking because he's associated with these people that murdered these cultists. And my players keep saying, but they were evil. And he was like, they weren't evil. They are respectable voting citizens within Saltmarsh. They've never done anything evil. And they're just like, well, they attacked us. And he's like, how can you prove that? Because from our view, you didn't come out and say and report to the authorities, hey, we were attacked or anything. You just left 7 bodies in there, and you looted the corpses. Like they didn't have daggers and stuff because you took their possessions. So it was a really interesting scenario for my players to suddenly learn that their actions have consequences. And even though this is an evil cult of Shar, like those law-abiding citizens were fine in Saltmarsh, and maybe that they should have been like, hey, we were attacked or found the authorities. So they're not necessarily on the run now, but their eyes are open. And Councilman Anders said that he would use some shady business practices to make sure that this doesn't come back to him, and that they don't get implicated for the murders of these cultists. It was a lot of fun. And I just remember my player turned to me afterwards, and he was half in character and half not. And he's just like, I just want to apologize. We had no idea. And I'm like, and Councilman Anders is like, and that's the problem. You guys need to think before you act.
You're a bunch of murdering hobos.
Just murdering hobos. And so that was really fun. And then afterwards we did some downtime, and they decided to kind of go out and root around and spy on these Cult of Shar members, because they were like, we're getting thrown under the bus for something that they are clearly evil and attacked us. And I was like, and that's true, but how are you going to prove that? Because as of right now, you are the ones who you were invited into their home and you killed them all. Like there's nobody survived except for these other members who were like, what happened? Lots of fun. So other than that, I'm working on my Kids on Bikes game, which was a lot of fun, and I'm going to run that tomorrow. And then when I'm done, I'm going to record that and I'll put it up on my Patreon. And then a little while later, I'll put it up on YouTube so you guys can all listen to it. But it's going to be a fun Halloween Kids on Bikes game. I think we're going to make it a Halloween tradition if I can get these people every year, because we did it last year. Lots of fun. If you want to listen to last year's episode, it's on the Saturday Morning D&D Show channel, or it's on Patreon. And you can check it out there. But yeah, I'm really excited to run more Kids on Bikes because it's such a fun system. So, but what did Lucian do? I'm talking forever for days.
Yeah, well, that's good. You had a lot of good stuff.
What was interesting in the world of gaming? I'm
gonna go in like a reverse order, because the last thing you were talking about reminded me of LB's game, where we're playing Baldur's Gate Descent to Avernus, and without a spoiler, there's a point where we have this job that says, my party interpreted it as go kill these people, when really they were kind of saying, just get rid of this, like you said, cult kind of thing. Get rid of the cult, get it out of town or whatever, which you can interpret means go kill everybody, or you could interpret means just run them out of town, or however you want to interpret it as your character does it. So mine are definitely, the party I have at the moment is a murder hobo party. So through the middle of it, at some point, we come into this room where this woman who is clearly working on a corpse and nearly scientifically inspecting it. And through conversation, nobody just amazingly just shoots her or kills her or hits her with a sword or whatever. We get a small amount of conversation and we learn that this person is a necromancer. But the paladin loses his shit because, well, necromancers are obviously evil, so we must kill necromancers. And the half of the party then tries to save the necromancer, because the necromancer, the way LB plays this character, comes off as no, I just do it for research. Like I'm just really super into understanding this whole thing. And like but the paladin is dead set on no, necromancy must be evil, because he feels to me like a player who, goblins must be, we're playing Dungeons and Dragons. Goblins are evil. Orcs are evil. Necromancers are evil. So I must kill it all with my sword. And it's funny to see the players clash a little bit. My character kind of stepped back and was like, what are these morons doing? Because now they're fighting each other. They're casting spell slots to stop the paladin from hacking down the necromancer. They've hired the necromancer to work for us at this point. And it's like this funny thing. And it reminded me of that. Sometimes you play with players that have preconceptions of what evil might be or what a thing might be, and assign it evil even though it might not be. So like this idea that maybe these law-abiding citizens who want to worship Shar, who is an evil god, but maybe they themselves have not done any real evil, maybe some minor evil, but nothing real evil, nothing to go in and just
nothing that the authorities know about, and so there's no provocation for them to just
So it was really funny. She did a great job of playing that character. And it was funny to see that player have to adjust, because he wasn't in on it. Like, he is still dead set. I don't understand why we're not killing the necromancer. We're playing Dungeons and Dragons. And the party's trying to explain to him, well, not everything is evil that you come across in Dungeons and Dragons. Like in real life, like I think he believes necromancers are evil. We have to just kill him. He's playing that righteous paladin kind of thing. And so one of the lines I kind of mentioned was, I don't know, I've seen some pretty evil stuff that paladins have said that they've done. when in reality, if anybody else viewed what they had done, which seems pretty evil, even if you're doing it in the name of Torm or, or whatever. So it's interesting to bring that up into a game. And so far it's been super fun.
Cool.
So as far as my games, Monday night was Seeking Revenor, which is my big West Marches style campaign with my party. We had a guest. We brought in Danimal, our GM from Wednesday nights. He got to reprise his role as Drubrin, our Loxodon. He's like a multi-class. I think he's like a sorcerer warlock, I think is what he is, or something like that. And he had a vision. He needed to go get an artifact that was about to be stolen. And I wanted to set up a really cool encounter that involved a couple of things. One, an anti-magic field. This really messed with my party because I don't know if I necessarily stuck to the true anti-magic rules, because I understand how it works as far as spells and magic items and magical effects. But I don't think I ever read up, does it still affect things like the cleric's smites or the paladin's smite? Like, is that considered a magical effect? And does that not happen in a field of magic? Or does their divine magic still work? Because that's not counted.
I would say smites are magic because it's like radiant.
That's
damage.
what I thought. Yeah. That's how I ruled it. Yeah. So that, like, I let him turn because I felt like maybe the god had just enough power on his holy symbol to try to turn the undead, because it was an undead creature that I was using out of Mordecaians also, which was a sword wraith was the kind of template for it, but I put on a globe of magic invulnerability, which was really cool because all of a sudden my players have all these cool magical abilities, and as it hits the field, they all dissipate and they all flipped out because all of a sudden the warlock has nothing they can. Even the monk, that was the other one that came up. We had a monk that is using key, but they're using the one that is the soul sorcerer, or the one that lets you project your key at range, the newest one that's out there. But I kind of ruled that that's kind of magical also, because that seems like a magical effect to me, even though it's key. They don't call it a magical effect necessarily. So, but I wanted to be dramatic, so they had to really come up with some interesting ways to deal with these things. But the other thing I threw in there that was really cool, and I remember it from an old campaign with Adam Coble, and he had a player that was playing a cleric of the trickery domain, and they were using duplicity. So they could create a mirror image of themselves or a duplicate of themselves. That one could go out and you could cast your spells through that one. So that one could go and maybe hide behind a wagon. The bad guys would think that's who you were, cast spells from there. But if it ever got hit or dead, it was just a duplicate. It wasn't actually you, which was really cool. So I put in there this same kind of, I called it a hidden priest, and it was using this duplicity, and it was using illusions to make the players think things were happening, putting tracks on the ground to make them follow the wrong way, showing up a duplicate to make it think that he's in one spot casting spells from that spot, but he really isn't in that spot. And they had no idea what was going on. They thought I was just bending rules, cheating. They're like, that's not how this spell works. How did he, even if he misty steps, he's only 30 feet. He should still be in my range of, I can see him. And they were just going crazy about this stuff. And I was just like, oh, there's reasons. You may not understand the reasons, but it was really fun to really mess with their knowledge of the game, because I play with a group that's very rule knowledgeable. So they're always watching what I'm doing. Is like, okay, well, if he bonus actions Misty Steps, then he can't cast a normal spell, because then you can only do a cantrip kind of roll. I'm like, well, monsters don't necessarily have the same rules, and there's things that they can have that you don't know about, or special abilities once per day kind of things, or even just special abilities, legendary actions, all these things that you don't know about that they might be able to do. So it's fun to mess with them in that. And I had a really good time with this encounter for them. They felt super frustrated, but I find that good for them, because I feel like it builds character for them if they're frustrated.
Yeah, not everything can be a cakewalk, so it makes sense.
Yeah. So then, so that was really fun. One of the other things that really got me, the bad guy was using invisibility to try to grab the artifact from the guardian of the artifact. our players get there at the same time, the bad guy realizes, hey, why don't I just wait while the players try to get the artifact, and that will give me time to steal it while they're doing all the fighting and I don't have to do it, which is what the whole premise was. And he gets it, he gets out, and he runs for it. Jorphdan goes after him, leaves the party behind, and now we have this really cool thing where I could do a split-off campaign if I wanted to, with Jorphdan chasing this artifact that his god told him to go get, and he's failed. So now he needs to get a party together to continue to this. And I thought like I could send it all the way back to the Sword Coast, and I could use it as an in for one of the other modules, because I started getting an itch to play an official module. So I was like, oh, this would be a perfect in for Jorphdan to pick a party and go after that. And it's a whole nother Seeking Revenor part. Like they're all on a different continent, and I could do a whole other thing. So it just got me thinking about what would I want to run, and I keep batting the idea around. But like you said, I'm already in 3 campaigns. Can I really add a 4th campaign at this point? And they're all Dungeons and Dragons. So I don't know. Wednesday, I'll wrap it up with, we played Tomb of Annihilation. This is still super fun. Danimal, our dungeon master from Down Under, he's our favorite Australian at this point, and he does a really good job. Okay. Yeah, not the other one, the underneath. He does a fantastic job of running games. We're all having a lot of fun. We're all laughing. Right now, one of our players has accepted a ghost of a god, a dead god, into him, and he's decided that makes him like Macho Man Randy Savage. So his whole personality has changed to be the Macho Man. And then my character got a Bracers of Defense as a wizard, a Bracers of Defense, and a health amulet. So now all of a sudden at 8th level, I have a better AC and more health than our paladin of the party. I'm just the wizard. So that was our big thing, is that now we're turning it into almost like a wrestling show. So it was really funny. And so that everybody's having a really good time with those characters. And it's been a great campaign. Tomb of Annihilation is just, when you have the right DM running it, it is so fun. And it's been really good.
Nice.
So. And I think that's where I'll wrap it up. I've got a lot of gaming coming up in this next week, and I can't wait. And we got Halloween coming up in this next week, so that's going to be fun. I'm going to work at a haunted house.
Nice.
So we'll see how that goes. I'll tell you all about it next Saturday.
Yeah, cool. Thanks for coming out, everybody. This is awesome to see you here. Sorry that my internet had a hiccup, but we're back, so it's awesome. We will see you next week with another episode of the Saturday Morning D&D Show with more games, more topics, and more whatever random thoughts are in our head. Rate us on iTunes. Leave comments on the YouTube channel. Tell your friends to subscribe. Do all that jazz. Thank you guys so much for supporting the show. We will see you next week. So goodbye, everybody. Take care.
Bye.